As an extrovert, the idea of being alone has never really appealed to me. I've always wanted to be around people, thriving off of their presence and energy, and I also have this travel bug that I can never seem to shake off. I can't stay in one place for too long before I start planning my next getaway. I've experienced all types of travel, from family trips to romantic getaways to incredible group trips. But the one type of travel that I've never experienced was solo travel. I knew that this solo trip would be different, but what I didn't realize was how much it would change me. Solo travel didn't just offer me a new adventure, but it gave me a whole new perspective. What prompted me to go on this trip was because I was placed on sick leave. I reached the lowest and darkest point of my life due to my job. It was taking a severe toll on my mental health. The Sunday scaries lasted every day of the week. I was sleep talking about work. Lunch breaks basically didn't exist. My first bite of the day was often close to dinner time. My conversations with friends and families after work hours became about how much I was suffering at work, because that was all I could think about. My dinner conversations with my boyfriend became therapy sessions. I've cried so much to the point that I had no tears left. I was not myself anymore, and I had to seek help.
So they are coming out on the severe end in terms of anxiety and mood, so low mood. All right, so quite an impact there. Okay, so would you say that the trigger is completely work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right, okay. So you've never taken any medication for mental health?
No.
No, or had any kind of talking therapy in the past?
No. But my brain cannot shut off on work. The doctor diagnosed me with severe anxiety, stress, and depression caused by work, and I was immediately ordered to take a sick leave for 2 weeks. I remember feeling so guilty for having to step away. What would my coworkers think of me for suddenly taking this time off? What about all the important tasks that I was responsible for? Who's gonna take care of all of that? And will I be seen as someone who didn't care about my job? But the truth is, it was because I cared too much about this job to the point that I stopped caring about myself. And it was time that I started putting myself first. After a quick Google search on cities that are safe for a female solo traveler, Copenhagen seemed to make every single list. So I booked a last minute flight and left with a backpack. I spent the next few days in Copenhagen just wandering the city with no plans, and it was an eye-opening experience. I've always been the one who organizes trips and activities, does all the research, plans all the details, and keeps everyone's needs and schedules in mind. It's just something that I enjoy. I love bringing people together and making sure that everyone is having a good time. But this time, I didn't have to do any of that. I was on my own time, and I can do whatever I want. It was a sense of freedom that I've never experienced before. Copenhagen became such a special place to me, even on a gloomy winter day. I felt so at peace. I found myself smiling as I'm walking down the street like a crazy person. I spent a lot of time people watching, especially those riding their bikes. And this might sound a little crazy, but what was truly occupying my mind at that time was that the people who are riding their bikes are probably happier than those driving those fancy, expensive cars with fancy job titles. It made me realize that sometimes the simplicity of life is what brings happiness. In society, we're taught to achieve certain standards. Gotta buy the nice big house, gotta make a lot of money, gotta drive that fancy car in order to be happy. But as I get older, I realize that happiness truly is not found in those achievements. Of course, we all need money to live, but we often also hear that money can't buy you happiness. And I was someone who never believed in this. Like, what do you mean money can't buy you happiness? But I had this epiphany. And I think it takes certain life moments to have this really click in your head. That big paycheck from my job did not bring me any happiness. I was making a living, but was I really living? And it certainly cannot buy back the time that I wasted being in an environment that made me so miserable. All this money eventually would just go towards medical bills and therapy sessions if my mental health continues to decline. On my Canal Cruise tour, believe it or not, I had tears rolling down my face as we were peacefully drifting along the water. The tour guide was explaining the history of Copenhagen. I couldn't really hear him, or Maybe it was because I wasn't really listening, but what I was listening to was the sound of water hitting the boat and the sound of my inner self bursting with happiness. And for once in a really long time, I felt so at peace. I woke up so happy today. Just happy to be here. Happy that I made a decision to come on this solo trip. I'm just so much happier without that job. Being able to step away from the environment that caused me so much unhappiness allowed me to reconnect with myself. I realized that at the end of the day, you have yourself to take care of. If I asked you right now who's always there for you during your darkest and brightest days, who would you say? You're probably thinking your mom, your dad, and your loved ones, but in reality, it's you. You are the one that's always going to be with you until your last day. This was what my friend Natalie taught me, and it completely changed my mindset. When you're on your deathbed, will your boss or your CEO be standing beside you? Absolutely not. So prioritize yourself and your own well-being. Have you heard of the water bottle analogy, where it says the same water bottle that costs $1 on the street costs $5 at the airport? It's still the same water, the same bottle, the same brand. The only difference is the environment. So choose your environment wisely. Know your worth and put yourself in an environment that will value you. Surround yourself with what makes you happy and fulfills you. Find the courage to say thank you next and walk away from people and environment that no longer serves you well. Just like how you would want to take care of your body by exercising and eating healthy, you also need to take care of your mental and emotional well-being. So today has been one of the simplest days, yet the happiest I've been in a very long time. It's just a different type of happiness that I felt today. Like, first solo trip I've ever been on in my life, where I really had the chance to just go at my own pace, be with myself, really giving myself some time to just reflect on life. I don't even know where I am right now. I just walked into a random building in Copenhagen and I was just in awe. Genuinely, like today, it made me realize that the meaning of life is just do what makes you happy. Like, it's such a simple concept, and people throw it around so much, but it's true. Life is way too short to be spent doing something that makes you miserable. Unfortunately, the last year, I've been at a job that it's just not the right environment for me, is what I've come to realize within the last few weeks. Some people are striving, and that's great for them, but it's just not the right environment for me. It's not the environment where I'm able to prioritize my own well-being, my own happiness. Yeah, life is too short to sacrifice your own well-being. My friend once sent me this quote saying, "We were not born to pay bills and die." So, what did I learn from the art of solo traveling? I learned that being in an unfamiliar environment where you don't know anyone and no one knows you creates the perfect opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery. It lets you fully immerse yourself in the experience, free from the influence of others. You get to make decisions that are based solely on what you truly want. It's the kind of freedom that brings a deeper sense of fulfillment and clarity about what genuinely makes you happy. And trust me, when you're alone, you'll notice that people approach you differently. And you'll also approach people differently as well. I went on this trip expecting to be lonely at times, but that actually never happened. Instead, it led me to a stranger named Jackie. We met randomly while waiting in line to take a photo, and she asked if I could take a photo for her since she was by herself. We immediately clicked and spent the next 5 hours wandering the city, talking about life. Jackie was a few years younger than me, and I honestly felt like I found my long-lost little sister. Before we said goodbye, we exchanged Instagram, and she just messaged me and she said, like, thank you again for tonight. Like, she was actually supposed to take a train to go to Sweden today, just for like a quick day trip, and she missed the train by like a minute. She said she was glad that she did, because otherwise we would have never crossed paths, and I will never forget that night. If you've never done a solo trip before, I suggest that you give it a try. It might just surprise you like it surprised me. Or if you can relate to anything that I shared during this video about my job, I hope that you can find the courage to put yourself first and make a change, because you deserve better than this, and your next happy place is waiting for you, but you gotta go find it. I arrived in Copenhagen as a sad girl, but I left Copenhagen as one happy girl. When I got home to London, I opened up my laptop to write my resignation letter, and I was ready for a new beginning. And spoiler alert, as I'm doing this voiceover, I'm about to start a new job, and I could not be more excited that I have finally found my next happy place.